The reason that you don't feel motivated, disciplined, or excited about anything is because your dopamine is fried. So let me break this down for you in a way that actually makes sense. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Carson. I started this channel basically as a way to talk about the mistakes and things I'm going through in an effort to hopefully make it so you don't make those same mistakes and become the best version of yourself just a little bit faster. Now, dopamine as a whole, I mean, it's a word we've all heard, but what actually is dopamine? Dopamine is essentially a graph, is the way I like to think about it. And you have this baseline. You have this baseline of dopamine that your body is going to operate under naturally. But when we get a hit of something, let's say that is a video game or a video that we really enjoy, it causes a spike in our dopamine. That spike is what brings us that pleasure. Now, common forms of dopamine are things like junk food, video games, pornography, doom scrolling. Anything you can think of that's very pleasurable causes dopamine. This can even be things like a huge achievement at work. It could be winning a competition. These are all forms of dopamine, but pornography, stuff like that, is a little bit more common, so I'll refer to it as that. Now, the problem is we get way too much of these common, simple forms of dopamine to where our dopamine sensors and graph is overloaded and we're constantly getting these spikes. So we're constantly on our phones, which causes our dopamine to be extremely high. We have very easy access to pornography. We do all of these different things that make it very easy for us to achieve dopamine. Now, why is this a bad thing? Well, it causes the good things to be bad. We all know this, or not as easy, I should say. It causes the good things to not be as easy or rewarding. So things like the gym, something we know we should all probably do, but it's boring for us because it's not giving us that same dopamine hit as pornography would, and it's a whole lot more effort. So why the frick would we go through all that work for the same feeling? Or work is impossible because why work when you have this little thing right here that gives you unlimited dopamine? Or life just feeling dull, feeling like it is colorless. Dopamine gives the world color, and when you're getting dopamine from a screen or something easy, it does something in your body, which we're going to talk about next, that makes it so the world is a whole lot less colorful when you actually go out to it. Now, let's look at something like chocolate, for example. Something we all know, I'm sure we all love a little bit of chocolate in our lives, but chocolate spikes your dopamine 1.5 times your baseline. So let's say your baseline is right here. Your dopamine would spike when you eat chocolate up about 1.5 times, depending on how much you actually enjoy chocolate for yourself. Now, going back to our spike and baseline example, after you have this spike, when you eat some really delicious chocolate and you love it, you have this 1.5 time high-end dopamine release compared to your baseline level. Well, after that, you actually drop below your baseline. Now, why is this a problem, you might be asking? Carson, what's the big deal? You are now operating at a lessened baseline level for your dopamine. So any further spikes don't affect you as much per se, causing you to need more and more of it for that same feeling. Or eventually you get to the point where you are just numb in general. So when we're doing things very, very easy, like eating a lot of junk food, watching pornography, doom scrolling, things that we actually should be using the power of dopamine for, giving us our world of color, is things that are very hard and actually propelling our life forward. Because that's what dopamine really is in our systems for. It is a chase effect, whether that's chasing a potential partner, whether that's chasing food and water. It gives us that drive to actually get up and go do it. But us in our society, we are wasting our dopamine on things like doom scrolling. Something that's not propelling our life forward, not keeping us alive per se. And it takes away our energy and our focus for these other things that actually would get us further in life, but they might not be as easy in the moment. The more and more that you chase this quick dopamine, the worse and worse the crash from it will get. And that is why you always feel like absolute dog after. I don't know anyone who's like ate a bunch of junk food and been like, yeah, dude, like I feel way better than before I ate this. Sure, it's awesome in the moment, but you never feel better. Or after you just doom scrolled for 2 hours knowing you should have done your homework, but you're like, I don't really need to do this. So you doom scroll for 2 hours and then you're like, dude, where did the day go? I wish I didn't do that. But you can't help it. And you're going to do it again. And trust me, I've been there. I've done that exact same thing where I know I should have been doing the work, but I choose to doom scroll instead. It happens. So what can you do? How can you overcome this cycle of dopamine where your baseline level right now is probably extremely low? How can you get it up to a normal baseline level so that the world feels colorful again, so that you have the energy to go to the gym and it feels rewarding when you do it? It makes you want to do it again. Here's exactly what you have to do. First things first, a study was actually found that showed that when you reward yourself for something and then you stop rewarding yourself after a while, so let's say you go to the gym and you reward yourself for it a couple of times. You say, okay, I'll go to the gym and then I can eat junk food. And then you stop rewarding yourself for going to the gym, so you stop giving yourself that junk food after but continue to go to the gym. It's not going to give you the same dopamine hit. So I encourage you, try to avoid rewarding yourself when you do something extremely good in terms of progressing your life forward and getting towards your version of success. So if you get some work done, don't reward yourself further, because then you're not going to get that same dopamine hit if you are not getting that same reward. So you'd have to maintain that reward for the rest of your life, which in turn is going to lower your dopamine levels even further. So first things first, try to avoid rewarding yourself. If you've been doing it in the past, your body will get to a baseline level again. Just keep doing it without a reward. Awesome. Next, limit your dopamine frequency. You don't need to eliminate it, because obviously dopamine is this amazing thing that we need in our lives. There's a reason that it's here, but limit it. We have way too much dopamine, so choose very wisely where you want that dopamine to actually come from. So cut back on junk food, cut back on sugar, cut back on social media, because that is wasting energy, is the way I want you to see it, for the things that actually matter, for the biggest needle movers in your life. You in a year from now, you're not going to remember the videos that you watched today. But what you will remember and what will have an impact on your life is the hard things that you did today that actually have a lasting impact, whether that's making more money, working on yourself, going to the gym, getting more in tune with your emotions. That stuff will make a lasting impact, so focus there. The less you feed into these quick hits, the more you actually start enjoying the real stuff again, the stuff that we're meant to enjoy and the stuff that propels your life forward. So I encourage you, replace some of these fast dopamine hits with slower dopamine. Stuff like workouts, stuff like reading, stuff like building yourself and your future. Those are the stuff that make a lasting impact, and I can promise you that. Now, for those of you who are like, oh frick dude, my dopamine is fried, I've been there. And there's ways you can overcome this and get back to a baseline level that's a little bit higher more quickly. So for those of you who feel stuck, go ahead. I put a link down in the description of this video. Basically, it's just going to be a little quiz. It's going to help you figure out why you're stuck and how to break free, which in your case might be dopamine, and then give you some actionable steps to overcome it. Takes 60 seconds, completely free, no harm, no foul. Do it as long as your dopamine allows you to. You have the attention span for it. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you learned something new. This is very beneficial once you understand the metrics of it and how it works. So start thinking about this as you live your life, and I think it'll help. I know it has for me. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you tomorrow for yet another video. Peace.